Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time to grab your cup of coffee, grab your tea, sit back and relax while we chat about what is happening up in the sky above us for the weekend. It's Friday. Happy Friday to everybody. And I'm so glad you're here with us this morning as we have a lot to talk about. Not maybe as much as we did earlier in the week, but certainly there are some interesting things happening for the weekend. First off, of course, is the sun moving into Sagittarius today. That doesn't really happen until about 8:30 tonight. I think it's 8:36 p.m. East Coast time, so 5:36 p.m. for those of us on the West Coast. And that begins a shift and a change in the astrological weather. You know, I was sitting here before the show started this morning, and I think I've probably shared this with you all before, that when I was growing up, I wanted to be a weather person, a meteorologist. I didn't want to be the weather girl, on the TV that showed the weather and all of that. I really wanted to be a meteorologist. Then I just realized this morning that I come on here twice a week and I talk about the weather, only it's not the weather, it's the astrological weather. How's that for finding your niche in the world, right? Even though until today, I didn't realize that that was what I was doing. So anyway, we have that to talk about. And then the day today and tomorrow is filled with these transits that are really interesting that we'll want to talk about. There's, a sun in Scorpio before he moves into the sign of Sagittarius, and he'll oppose then Uranus that has retrograded backward into Taurus, and Scorpio, Taurus are opposite of one another. And then we also have a couple of other transits we'll want to talk about. For these will be exact tomorrow, but of course today they're in your face, right? They're building up. And then as well, tomorrow we have the new Human Design Week, which takes us into the manifesting generator archetypal energy. And I want to share with everybody what that means, because that is one of the most important and impactful channels that will be completed in all of human design. It is the archetype of the manifesting generator. So for all intents and purposes, we all become manifesting generators from the 22nd through the 27th, Thanksgiving Day. Thank God we'll need that energy on Thanksgiving for sure, right? And then we have some other transits to talk about for the weekend, and that will pretty much wrap up our broadcast here today. So saying good morning to people as people are jumping in. Hello, Julie. I saw you first off this morning. She says, happy Friday. And then I saw Christine Buckingham. Good morning to you. Teddy, good morning. And Sandra B, good morning to you. Jacqueline, good to have you. And Narges, good morning. And I have something for you, Jacqueline, because you're one of the ones, you and Debbie and a couple of others of you always want to remind me to smash the like button. So I found this morning. Hold on one second while I bring it up, because it this one, like and subscribe. There you go. Do you see it on the screen? That is something new I didn't even know I had access to, that I was exploring behind the scenes this morning, and I found it. That's like an aha, a Sagittarius moment. And then there's also this one, like and subscribe. I love it, right? So there's that. But I also like my little living astrology thing. So thank you very much for that reminder, Jacqueline. And if you haven't yet, hit the like button, hit the heart button if you're on Facebook, share with your friends. Let's get the word out that there is something up in the atmosphere, and we have the keys, right? We have the keys. All right, so let's start with the transits that are happening for us this week and or this weekend. And, before we can really get into the Sagittarius season, we have to talk about what we're sitting in right now, because it's also big, right? It's a big thing. And even though the sun officially moves into Sagittarius later this evening, it's still traveling through the final degree of Scorpio right now, right? So the 29th degree, a karmic degree, right? Or an anaretic degree, a critical degree of the sign. And it's, a degree that brings all the experiences of Scorpio, at least from the sun's point of view, into, this critical mass, this awareness for us to do something with, or to learn something from. And so it's, really important for us to understand when planets pass through that 29th degree, we are bringing something into closure, or we're bringing something into a revelation kind of minute. And there are two powerful aspects that are working with us on this. And the first I alluded to already, the sun in an opposition to Uranus and Taurus. I'm going to actually share my screen here with everybody. Hopefully you see this. And let me check back on. Yeah, I think you do see it. Okay, so here we have today's chart. This is today's chart. So things aren't exactly, in Sagittarius yet, but you can see right here is the sun. And if you look through here, you can see it's 29 degrees, 39 minutes or 33 minutes, something like that. And if you're not seeing my cursor, it's on the left side of the chart at the 9 o'clock position. And it's opposing Uranus at the other side at the 3 o'clock position, and Uranus in the 29th degree of the sign of Taurus. So we have this opposition going on between these two signs. And this is a classic shakeup aspect, right? It is one where the universe is saying to each and every one of us, wake up, get honest with yourself. Something needs to shift. And the Sun-Uranus opposition often brings sudden insights and sudden or surprising news, shocking news, things, right? And this might have even been happening a day or two ago up until this point, and maybe a day or so after this point. Emotional breakthroughs, right? Emotional breakthroughs. Now, I've heard from several people this week already that have had, some dark nights of the soul type things going on. Not surprising, as we're closing up a very powerful transit of planets through the sign of Scorpio. And even though the sun will be moving out of Scorpio, there's still plenty of planetary energy there, with Mercury retrograding backwards into the sign, with the black moon Lilith sitting there in the sign, Venus in the sign, to keep us rolling for several days yet to come. Okay, so we're not quite done with that Scorpio energy, but we are seeing a little bit of a crack in that. Now, this might also lead us to disruptions, and, disruptions can lead to clarity. They can, move us off a stuck space. And there is a big urge, I think, running through every one of us, every one of you, that is an urge to break free from old patterns, right? From the old ideals that have held you back, from the fears that you have, and from the circumstances that have kind of chained you to something. So if you're yearning to break free, this is your time. The universe has extended, the invitation for you to do exactly that. Now, in the process, though, with the sun in the opposition to Uranus, you may feel restless, unsettled. It was weird. I looked out at the sky this morning and it just looked weird to me, like orangey, rosy colored. It was, a weird sky. And I thought, ooh, is that a portent of things to come? But now as I look outside, the sky's just gray, right? But those colors were like, woo, popping for some reason. And, that can feel unsettling, right? Because it felt like, to me, something new was on the horizon, something, coming, if I can get away with saying that. And it is something coming. It is something coming to try to liberate you from the old. And something that has held you emotionally, psychologically, mentally captive to something or someone. Sometimes it's in the physical world that you're being liberated in this sense. But because the sun is still in Scorpio, it can really highlight the need for shadow work, doing the work, right? Even though it may feel emotional, you may feel like screaming your head off, you may feel like running and hiding, you've got to do the shadow work. And it can also bring up issues around intimacy. This is Scorpio energy, the energy of merging together. So intimacy, being vulnerable and sharing with others what it is that you're going through. It is about power dynamics. Can't get away from that with the sun getting ready, or in, I think it is in it today. Oh, that's 2026. Let's look at 2025's. In the gate 34. Let's see. Yes, so Mercury's already in the gate 34, the gate of power. So Mercury's there, and then we'll have, some other interesting things going on with that Sagittarius energy of power that it, as the sun moves into Sag. And, Uranus in Taurus brings the unexpected through finances sometimes, like the bill that comes that you didn't expect. I had something happen to me this week that was so unexpected, and I'm like, cut that credit card up, right? Cut it up. Not dealing with that company anymore. Don't like their tactics, and don't like the way I was being treated. So, like, you don't get my money, right? You don't get my business anymore. So things happening financially that are unexpected. And then relationships, things in your relationships may be topsy-turvy. Instability and security issues. And in your value system, what's going on there? Are you living in alignment with your values, or have you strayed so far to one side or the other that you don't even know what's true for you anymore? Time to bring it all back in. And maybe even your body or your nervous system showing signs of wear and tear, showing signs of a crisis perhaps, or even, the energy of that restlessness that's prompting you to take some kind of action. So the key phrase for us today and tomorrow and even on Sunday is really about breakthrough, not breakdown. Now, sometimes the breakdown is the breakthrough. So if you're someone sitting there on the edge, just understand that the breakthrough and the breakdown might be leading you to something very cathartic, right? Catalyzing, as it were, some kind of powerful change in your life, a transformation, right? Because remember, Scorpio energy is about ultimately transforming into the phoenix, right? So that's what's happening. But this aspect does help you to let go, and to let go of what's too small for who you're becoming, allowing you to take on the persona, the power that you are, okay? Now, at the same time that we have the opposition of the sun to Uranus in Taurus, we also have the sun in Scorpio trining the planet Neptune. So you see the opposition in this blue line going across the chart. The green line here is the sun in Scorpio joining up with Neptune. And then later in the weekend, then the sun, as he moves into Sagittarius, or actually this has happened already, joining up with a trine to Saturn. So we have this really beautiful, or sextile, the sun in a sextile, no, trine, sorry, boo-boo, back, trine, flow, ease, right? The movement, if you will, of the emotional energy into a much more optimistic position. So that sun in Scorpio in the trine to Neptune in Pisces, right here is Neptune down here in the bottom right corner of the chart, brings intuition, and it brings compassion. It brings creativity. This is creative energy that's flowing. It brings spiritual awareness, the aha moment that comes from the divine, the higher part aspect of yourself that is connected to the divine. It brings imagination energy in. It is emotionally softer. It doesn't mean the emotion isn't there. It's just a softer emotional feeling, because Neptune dissolves the hardness. So where Uranus and the sun have electrified or brought up, liberation and kind of the unexpected, Neptune soothes this energy. And it's a beautiful energy then for us to meditate with, or to meditate upon, to, work through your dreams, right? Several people this week with dreams that they're having that are very powerful, very moving. Spiritual practice, what is it that you're doing to support yourself as a spirit in a human body? And then creative projects and inner reflection, all of these things are beautiful energies that are brought to us from the Sun trine Neptune. Now, also, opening up your psychic senses and trusting your intuition. For those of you on my mailing list, you got the update on the blog post this morning, all about an experience I had years ago where my intuition, my spidey senses were suddenly lit up. They were suddenly on fire, and I was tuned in to likely the crisis energy of a friend of mine. And it was so powerful that it moved me to action. So if you want to know more about that story and how I was instrumental in helping save a life, go to my website, living-astrology.com, and click on the blog tab, drop it down, and voila, there's the story. Or if you're on my mailing list, check your emails this morning, because that story got released at 7 a.m. Pacific time this morning. And then take the time to read the other stories that I've put there, because this is a project I think I shared with all of you called My Mystical Magical Life. And I was very moved to share this because so many things in our world right now have seemed to call in the need for more faith, right? The need for us to be more tapped into our spiritual selves, or to really see that we're something more than just what this physical drama and trauma is that we're all going through at this point in time. So it was a perfect time, I thought, to share these stories. So please go to my website, check out the blog. Those stories are there. If you got the email this morning, open it up. Whew, do that. Open it up and read about how intuition saved likely a friend's life. Okay, now let's go back to the energy of the weekend. It seems that the Sun opposing Taurus, or Uranus and Taurus, and the Sun trining Neptune and Pisces has a message for us, right? That a combined message that says, let go, wake up, trust the bigger story, right? There's so much drama and trauma going on, and any place that you look in the news, there's something, right? Something happening. So it makes it hard for us, when you're tuned into, or I mean, even if you're not tuned into it, you're tuned into it, right? You might not be watching the news, but somehow, that energy, that crisis energy is, coming in at all of us during this period of time. So Uranus cracks something open, right? It's oh gosh, it breaks us, right? It breaks us wide open. And then Neptune helps us understand what it is that Uranus is trying to get us to open up our eyes to. And then Scorpio energy assures that whatever changes today are significant, right? Or whatever changes are in sight for you, whatever's happening in your life is significant. And this is perfect timing. Perfect timing. It always is, because as we go through the day today, we find that there's this clear path for the Sun to be bringing us into the human design energy of the new week. And it's a major energetic shift for us from the intensity of Scorpio, the intensity of all of that scorpionic energy of change and transformation and shadow work, into the more optimistic, bright light of the Sun moving into Sagittarius. Now, this is a time in our year where, we're looking forward maybe to the holidays. Now, know that there's always the shadow. Some people dread the holidays. So it can be kind of an extreme expression, because the planet that rules Sagittarius is Jupiter. And Jupiter can be amplifying whatever the energies are around you. So if the energies around you are fearful, that's what's going to be amplified. If the energies around you are joyful or optimistic, it's going to amplify that. So the moment the Sun crosses that threshold into Sagittarius, that energy shifts, and we should feel it, right? I almost feel it coming, right? It's like right there. It's like coming in. So this season brings an undeniable kind of expansion of spirit. And after the depth and intensity of Scorpio, don't you kind of feel like the emotional excavation of it all? Don't you kind of feel like, stepping out of it for a while, stepping into this brighter light? It's like being in a candlelit room and then suddenly the overhead lights come on, or when the power goes off in your house and then suddenly it comes back on, right? Sagittarius is like stepping out of the dim light and into that brighter light. And there's the breath of fresh air, a feeling of possibility, and a desire to reconnect with the meaning behind everything you're doing, right? So having come through the clearing process, and, maybe that clearing process kind of, merging a little into the Sagittarian process of the light, coming on in the darkness, you're learning to reconnect with what's really meaningful to you, what's really, yours to connect to. And, what the sun in Sagittarius means for us all then is that we're seeking vision, right? We're, in a way, this would be a good time of year to go on a vision quest, right? To sit back and just let your mind expand and see the bigger picture of everything that's happening around you. It is a great season for truth seeking. Who am I? What is the truth of who I am? And what is the truth behind all of the mirrors, the smoke and mirror type energies that, pervade our existence, it seems like these days. It's a time for seeking wisdom. Looking, Sagittarius is the sign of the archer, and that arrow is pointed straight at the heart of the universe, the heart of our universe, our solar system, the galactic center, the source of the truth, right? The capital T truth, not the little truths, not the false narratives, not the I think that's the true narrative, the truth, the bigger T. And it's also a time for hope. The season itself leading us into that season of love and hope and light, which is strictly speaking a Capricorn energy, unless, of course, we put in Ophiuchus, which we're not going to do today, but we will deal this because I feel like it shifts this optimism further out into the end of the month of December. Adventure and faith in the future, faith in yourself, faith that everything is working out the way it is meant to work out, even if it doesn't look like it, right? Even if it looks not right, if it looks ugly and, you just want to run and scream, it is working out. And it asks all of us to zoom out, right? To back up, to see the bigger picture, to ask the deeper questions like, why am I on this path? What am I learning about myself? What am I learning about who I am or who I want to be? And what does this all mean for my growth, right? Because it is about growth. Ultimately, it's about your evolution as a soul and your evolution in spirit, the evolution of the collective in spirit. So this is the archetype. Sagittarius is the archetype of the seeker, the teacher, and the storyteller, maybe even the pilgrim, right? The one that goes on the hero's journey, questing for answers, questing for the truth. And the sun in Sagittarius wants us to look beyond the immediate problem and to reconnect with the bigger truth, right? The bigger horizon of your life, right? There's a bigger picture at play. It's not just this little picture. What's the bigger picture? So now let's talk about if you're a Sagittarian, how does this impact you? Because this is your season, right? This becomes your birthday is going to fall sometime in this season. And if you're a Sagittarius sun or a Sagittarius moon or a Sagittarius rising, this is really your time. And literally all of you have Sagittarius somewhere in your charts. And I will address that in a moment. But let's just talk about the Sagittarius suns. You may feel more alive, more expressive, more optimistic, more future-oriented. I see the bigger picture. Your inner spark of creativity and joy and excitement is easier to access at this time. And opportunities for visibility or for growth often show up for you around this time because Jupiter brings opportunities and Jupiter is your ruling sign. It's like Lady Luck is on your side. Now, if you're a Sagittarius rising, meaning the left, that the sun was on in Sagittarius at the moment that you were, the sun was rising in Sagittarius at the moment you were born. That means your identity and your direction and your sense of self is getting a cosmic refresh, like you're refreshing the page. Maybe you find yourself stepping into bigger roles or embracing a new adventure. You're looking at life a little bit differently. Your personality is imbued with that energy. If you're a Sagittarius moon, you're also being infected, affected, as the sun and moon will be in Sagittarius at the same time. We're still in that new moon window. Your emotional world expands if your moon is in Sag. You feel more open to new ideas, and maybe you're more willing to trust yourself, trust your emotional direction finder, right? The inner emotional you. So this is a period of time where everything Sagittarius shines a little bit brighter, right? Where you're often receiving more attention and maybe more blessings, more invitations to engage in adventure or in the different areas of life. Now, how does it impact the rest of us, right? If we don't have an angle in Sagittarius, and you could have your midheaven in Sagittarius, but even if you're not Sagittarian, you have Sagittarius somewhere in your chart, which means the house that Sagittarius falls in is where this energy of optimism and bigger vision is showing up for you. And wherever it is in your chart, this is where life is expanding. This is where life is opening up, and maybe where you're seeking deeper meaning. Okay. If we looked at today's chart as a person, the Sagittarius sign is in the first house. So this would be a person who is personally expanding, right? If Sagittarius is in your second house, maybe it's expanding income. Maybe it's redefining your value and your worth. If you have a sixth house Sagittarius, maybe it's new habits and routines that support your good health and your well-being. Maybe a 10th house Sagittarius means your visibility is higher, that your career is growing, or you're taking a bold new direction in terms of your career or profession or how you state your authority. Maybe you have a 12th house Sagittarius, and this is a spiritual awakening because it's a quiet place. It's a more introverted place. It's a more spiritual place. So there's deep inner truths that maybe you are coming into awareness of, maybe intuitive downloads that are finding meaning, finding a place to land in your chart or in your life. Now, Sagittarius season encourages everyone to step out of your limited beliefs or your limiting thinking. Step out of it, right? Step back, look at it. How has it served you? And what could you do if you didn't have that limiting belief anymore, right? Reclaim your sense of possibility. What more is possible? Learn something new. Take a class. Find out more about something. Explore something outside of your comfort zone, right? It's not okay to just keep waddling around in the same arena. Step out of it, right? Step into the bigger, wider lens. Speak truth with more confidence, and maybe reconnect with your inner compass, right? It's there. It's there. And this is a season that invites all of us to stretch and grow spiritually, mentally, sometimes literally through travel or new experiences, right? It's that kind of an energy. It's a stretching, growing energy. So how do we tap into the energy of Sagittarius? How do we use that energy effectively in our lives? So the first thing that comes to mind is that this is a beautiful time to say yes to the new. We're in the window of the new moon. It's a time for intention setting and for saying yes, right, to yourself, saying yes to that next step. It's a great time to dream bigger than you've dared to dream recently, right? What if becomes a very powerful phrase. What if I could have everything I loved? What if I could have the best relationships? Learn Teach, study, explore. It's a great time for that. Begin a new chapter in your life. Seek wisdom through books or people or classes or readings. It's a great time for an astrology reading. Get reoriented, or inner reflection even, right? Return to a spiritual practice or to a spiritual path that maybe you left behind or that you've just not had the time or the space to get involved with. Follow your curiosity. The opposite sign of Sag is curious Gemini, right? So follow that curiosity. Explore your beliefs. Explore your truth and your story. And a great question to ask yourself right now is, what am I being invited to grow into? What am I being invited to grow into? And this is a season that responds well to big visioning, to inspiration, and to aligning with what feels meaningful. It's a great time for doing that vision board or that visioning work. But as always, there's a shadow to every energy, right? There's the high side, and then there's the shadow side. The shadow, the gift, and the siddhi, right? We've got those frequency bands that we are able to express through. So what is the shadow of Sagittarius season? Because every sign has a shadow, and Sagittarius is no exception. And at its lowest frequency, Sagittarius can express as bluntness or tactlessness, right? Truth without compassion, right? You know how you say, like, you just stuck your foot in your mouth? That kind of thing is the shadow energy of Sagittarius. There's a moral superiority and self-righteousness that can also come from Sagittarian energy. It's like you're carrying the banner of your religion or your belief system, and you're right and everybody else is wrong. That is the low side of Sagittarius energy. There's possibly escapism, right? You're checking out rather than checking in. There's overindulgence, Jupiter, their ruler, overindulging, overconfidence without grounding, right? Without grounding yourself first. Chasing freedom to avoid responsibility. That isn't the name of the game, right? Being responsible is still definitely necessary. Being dogmatic, right? I'm right and you're wrong. It kind of ties into that whole self-righteous moral superiority thing, right? Dogmatism. What are you so inured in your beliefs that you can't see beyond it? You can't see how other people's beliefs might hold kernels of truth for you too, right? It's really a difficult tendency that we have when Sagittarius is it. Everybody has Sagittarius somewhere in their chart. The shadow here is the tendency to leap without looking, to speak without thinking, or to use truth-telling as a weapon. Not the highest intention of the sign, but it's there. And the medicine for this shadow is simple. Stay present. Be in this present moment. And stay humble. Stay humble. Stay connected to your purpose. Stay connected to what you love. Right? When Sagittarius energy is grounded in intention and integrity, it becomes one of the most uplifting and inspiring forces in the whole of the zodiac, right? And then as the moon is also in Sagittarius right now, having moved out of Scorpio, the new moon in Scorpio was in late 28 degrees, so it was only a few hours later it moved into Scorpio, kind of blazing the trail, if you will, for the sun to move into Scorpio or Sagittarius this evening. And the Sagittarius moon is also uplifting. It is also restless, possibly. It's also full of momentum, but it's emotional momentum. It's like the primal scream, right? That builds up from within us that we then yell out to the world, right? In some way. And the moon in Sagittarius does kind of help us to feel more optimistic and more adventurous. It changes the mood of our, day-to-day life. It becomes more emotionally spacious, right? We can fit more in the container. We're more curious, maybe more open to new possibilities, less attached to the dramas of the last few weeks, right? It's like a cast-off moment, right? We can cast off those. It's lighter, it's faster, and it's more expansive than that Scorpio moon was. Your emotional body, though, still wants truth. It wants freedom and it wants movement. And this is the moon that says, let's zoom out and see the big picture instead of getting stuck in this micro moment, right? We don't want the micro moment stuck. We want the bigger picture. So there's this double fire effect that we have because the sun and the moon will both play in Sagittarius briefly, but they will be together there. Where both luminaries were asking you to feel honest, to be more honest with yourself and with others, to maybe be more outspoken, but with compassion, right? To be more willing to follow your intuition, your gut instinct. What's it telling you? And be more inspired to break free from routines and to feel more attuned to what feels true rather than what you think makes sense, right? Sometimes, that logical mind can just take over. And when it takes over, then we lose the connection to the feeling, right? The feeling. We discount the feeling. So this is a perfect time with the moon and the sun in there to plan a trip. Maybe you've got, the year to look ahead. My daughter just got her planner for 2026. And I mean, she does it for budgeting, but she also does it for, other things in her life. Sit down and plan a trip. Begin a new course of study. Start a spiritual or philosophical exploration. What tickles your fancy? And then saying yes to things that expand your world rather than condense it or constrict it. Sagittarius wants movement, both inward and outward, but also the moon in Sagittarius makes it feel simply necessary for you to change up the atmosphere, right? To reach out, to change things up in your life. Now, double fire can also stir impulsivity. So we got to watch out. We don't want to just leap without looking or speak without thinking. We can overreact, right? We can get overblown reactions instead of the taking of time to respond to what is showing up in our world. We might want to tell the truth with a soft landing, meaning with compassion, with heart, and big emotions that flare and then disappear quickly, right? Anger. And this is why it's so very important to make sure that you're not reactive to things that are happening in your world. So today, tomorrow, Sunday, it's helpful to slow down just a bit to really check in. Is this excitement or escapism? Is this inspiration or is this dogma or agitation, right? Is this me channeling awareness? Is this, me creating magic out of the possibilities? A spark, right? That reminds us that our life has a horizon again, that we can see that horizon? Or am I still flailing in that Scorpio energy of the baggage that we're carrying, right? It's time to lift off the baggage, right? Okay. Let me check in with people and see how everybody's doing. Good morning, Tina. Maybe that pink sky was an aurora borealis. It could have been, although there were enough clouds, it would have been hard to see that for sure. But I love that idea. Good morning, Miss Stell. And let's see who else. Jana, good morning. Terry, good morning. And Karen, good morning. She has Sagittarius Sun and Mercury in North Node, stepping up in my old age. Karen, go for it, girl. Tina has a Sagittarius North Node. You're already an adventurer, right? I don't know how old you are, Tina, but if you're over 40, then you are pointed at that North Node, right? That North Node right now has become your North Star, has become your guiding light, has begun to really push you to become bigger, to be more optimistic and see the broader horizons. And depending on what house that is in your chart, that would tell you where it is that you're meant to be growing toward. Christine Whitner, good morning to you as well. Jackie, 7th house Sagittarius with Neptune in opposition to Venus. That almost sounds like I want to say spiritual warrior. There's got to be another way, a spiritual alchemist. There we go. Like in your relationships, you are taking up the banner of expansiveness. And you're the one that is here to share, teach, and help others to grow in some respects, right? So cool. And Tina, it's in the fourth house. I'm 51. So, yes, 10, 11 years ago, you had a shift from the south node energy into your north node energy. And that north node in Sagittarius now pushing you to create a more spiritual foundation. The fourth house is foundational. And to have Neptune in the fourth house means a spiritual foundation. And it might be that taking on the mantle of a spiritual wise woman, taking on the mantle of a spiritual teacher, whether you're teaching others or sharing insights with others or intuition with others, it's you taking on more and more of that, right? So important for you to understand that in your life. I know, doesn't that feel good, Jackie? I love that spiritual alchemist, right? Energy. And, Sagittarian energy is so deep, right? It's very deep. And sometimes this is where we're pulling up this knowledge from deep within us. We don't even really necessarily know where it's coming from, but there it is, right? It's just deep within. And then we can express that and help others with what our insights are, right? That's what alchemy does. It changes one thing into another, and you're alchemizing old beliefs into new ones. So, all right. Now, let's talk about the new human design week, because the sun will be moving into the gate 34 and the earth into the gate 20. I'm going to share my screen so you can actually see this on the screen in front of us. So let me go. Let's go back to StreamYard for a minute because I want to see how big this is. All right, I hope you guys can see this pretty well. So when the human design shifts, right, it's not as, it is pretty pronounced, but it gives us an idea of what the micro picture is of the macro picture, right? So we just talked a lot about what the sun in Sagittarius means and what the moon in Sagittarius means. But in human design, we get to see by bits and pieces how that full Sagittarian picture builds, right? And it begins with the sun at the gate 34, which is the gate called power, right? In quantum human design, this is the gate of power, and it sits on the sacral center, the second to the bottom center in your human design. And its core essence is pure life force. And at its best, this gate 34 brings strength and determination, stamina, endurance energy, perseverance energy. It brings creative force to us. It is the ability to do what others think is impossible, maybe even what you thought was impossible. And it's a direct connection to your natural instincts, okay? And in this gate, the energy says, I can. But I also want you to notice that this is energy that connects up to the throat center, right? So the earth is in the gate 20. And this particular channel that gets completed is the archetype of the manifesting generator. And as we know, manifesting generators are time benders, right? They can do a lot. They can jump from one thing to another. They skip steps. They manage and multitask like nobody's business. And now every one of us this week, from today until the 27th, become multitaskers, become manifesting generators, right? Now, when I say that, I mean you're borrowing this energy of the manifesting generator for the week. You have to remember that no matter what, you're still whatever you are, a generator, reflector, manifester, projector, whatever you are, you still are that. But this overlays it, right? And here is this energy. It is only correct to act when it's responding, not when it's pushing, not when it's forcing or trying to control the outcome. Its true power lies in responding to what shows up in the outer world, outside of you, right? So an opportunity somebody might invite you into, or an opportunity, something that you've always wanted that suddenly is there within reach, right? So the shadow of the gate 34 can be impulsiveness, can be forcefulness, pushing, right? I'm going to force this to happen. Acting before you have clarity on what it is you're acting from or for, or the reason for it. Bulldozing others, especially others, just running over the top of them. Using the energy in the wrong direction. You're tapping into sustainable life force energy this week. And that means that you can, if you're not careful, get aimed in the wrong direction and keep steering your boat in that direction, and then finding out at the end of the week that it was all for naught. So you have to avoid that because it leads to burnout. And the way to avoid that is when you use your power with awareness. And awareness here is in response, right? What is showing up in my outer world that matches something going on within? In the gift level, when we look at this through the gene keys, the gift here is strength, right? This true strength is the ability to use your energy responsively, with intention, with integrity, okay? When we get to the highest level, the city level of this energy, it's called majesty. Try that word on. I mean, how often do we use that word ever? This is the frequency of embodied mastery. This is the power that is at once humble, clear, and also aligned with divine timing. To be aligned with divine timing is to respond to what shows up in your outer world. Big lesson this week for all of us. What is happening in that outer world that you can respond to? Now, the earth. Let's look at her, because the earth is always the grounding energy, and it has to be fulfilled first. Before we can claim the power, we have to go through patience, because the gate 20 up here on the throat center is called the gate of patience. And, the throat center is that center of bringing things into manifestation, right? It's the creative energy. It's the spoken, communicated energy. And when gate 34 brings power, gate 20 brings the pause. It brings, I need to have patience so that I'm responding to the right things. So this gate, the gate 20, teaches us right timing. It teaches us embodiment. It teaches us mindfulness. It teaches us to see clearly before we take action. And responding in the now moment. In traditional human design, the gate 20 was called the gate of the now. So it's this very present moment that you're in, right? That allows you to see what to respond to release your power towards, right? And as well, it's about speaking only when the truth is ripe, when people are ready to hear the truth and not before. So gate 20 is the antidote to the rush, right? The force energy that the gate 34 can sometimes create within us. It says, be here now. And it says, feel it fully, then act, right? Act then from a place of authority. And this happens when we move too fast. If we get, moving too fast, and we can, because this is energy that moves quickly, and we don't sit with what's real, we can get leap to where we're leaping into things that really have no real meaning for us. So we have to be watchful for this. Now, the shadow of the gate 20, right? Because there's a shadow of the 34, there's a shadow of the 20, and the shadow of 20 is superficiality. It is what happens when we move too fast, when we don't really sit with and calculate almost what the response needs to be, or whether we need to respond at all. In the gift, it's self-assurance. It's a grounded confidence that happens when we operate from pure presence, from being in this now moment, right? And the highest city energy, of course, is presence, right? You're being fully in the now, being aware of, what you're doing in the moment. When you're here in the present, everything flows almost as if by magic, right? So together, the 3420, they form this channel that is the archetype of the manifesting generator. It's fast energy, it's powerful energy, it's capable, it's responsive, it's efficient, and it's also instinctual, right? It taps into the deeper body yes or no that is happening in the moment. It's a dialogue within the physical that then prompts the action. And that means this week, you might feel more energized. You might feel more motivated. Maybe you're more able to multitask, right? To take on different facets of things that you have to manage in your life. Maybe you're more excited with the big ideas that are showing up. Maybe you're more eager to do, right? It's a good thing Thanksgiving falls in this week, right? But the wisdom in all of that energy, the potential of all of that energy, is that you don't leap before the sacral energy says yes. You get that deep down body knowing, right? That feeling of yes, uh-huh, or uh-uh, right? That's intuition speaking from a deep place. Don't speak before the moment is right. We don't just blurt things to people without thinking. Don't burn through your energy just because it's available, because I'm telling you, you reflectors, projectors, and manifestors, you will find yourself at the other end, at the end of the week, burning out, right? So when 3420 is aligned, it's unstoppable energy. When it's not, it's chaotic, right? Chaos in the mind, chaos in your heart, chaos in your emotions, chaos in the physical world. All right, keep that in mind. So how do we use this energy wisely? Because it's at our fingertips. It's here. I can feel it, right? Only act on what lights you up, right? This whole week is about the sacral response coming, and this week starts tomorrow. Even if you don't have a sacral response natally because you're a reflector or manifester or a projector, you have it this week. Slow down before you speak. Let the gate 20 do its job, being fully present in the moment, being patient to wait for your turn to speak, waiting for the right moment to say the right words, right? Words land differently when they come from presence, right? They land in a way that people get you, they see you, they hear you, they recognize your wisdom. Follow what feels energizing. You know, if you're dragging yourself through something this week, stop. Stop it right now. It's not aligned. If you feel like you're being dragged through something, it's not aligned with your energy. Expect things to move quickly. This is a great week for breakthroughs, for productivity, for starting projects, for following your instincts. Do it, right? That's the do it energy, but in response to what is showing up outside of you. Don't rush the big decisions. Power is loud, presence is quiet. You need both, right? You need the power, but you need the presence so that you take the right actions. All right. So I kind of want to give you all a little bit of a guidance for the type that you are. Okay. So if you're a reflector, and there's less than 1% of you out there who are reflectors. However, we do have our favorite Terry Strauss medium in here who is a reflector. And for her, for all of you who are reflectors listening in the background, you may feel more energized than usual, but don't assume that this is energy for you to speed up and do tons more, right? Use your energy spark to try new things. Maybe explore, maybe play, right? Play a little more without committing, right? Because remember, as a reflector, your lunar authority is about the timing of the moon and waiting 28 days, the full cycle of the moon, before you make or commit to powerful new things, right? Big things. Your mantra, if you're a reflector this week, must be I sample the energy without becoming the energy. I sample the energy without becoming the energy. Now, projectors. There's about 20% of the world out there, 20% of you out there are projectors, and your energy is also going to feel more energized than usual, right? But don't assume again that this is, a sign from the heavens for you to go full speed, full tilt. It may really tempt you to do more than what your system is designed for. Use the manifesting generator flavor, if you will, to enhance your insight, to enhance your guiding of others and how you direct energy or help others to direct energy, not to push yourself to do more, be more, commit to more. Don't do that. Your mantra is my power is in guiding, not doing, right? My power is in guiding, not doing. Now, if you're a manifester, this transit can feel exciting and even turbocharged for you. You are the creators, the initiators, right? And you get injected with this powerful sacral energy on top of that, and boom, right? But remember, power and impatience equals chaos, right? Wait for that inner urge. Inform the people who will be impacted by your change in direction or your next project. Then act, right? Don't let gate 34 pull you into the overuse of force, right? Because nobody likes that, right? Your mantra, if you're a manifester, is I move when the spark is true. I move when the spark is true. Now, for generators and manifesting generators, you already have access to this very powerful sacral energy. Generators don't all have it going up to the throat center, however. So this is your world of action. You're used to having to wait to respond to what shows up in that outer world. This feels maybe like clarity for you this week. Maybe it feels like strength and satisfaction. Just remember to respond, right? Don't initiate. You're not initiators, except the manifesting generator. You're kind of the hybrid of that. You may be feeling like you're Superwoman, Superman, right? Be careful, because this energy is your superpower this week, but you can burn out just as easily as the others can by taking on too much. Generators and manifesting generators, your mantra is my energy is sacred. I use it intentionally. Right? Intentional use of that powerful sacral energy. All right. Da, da, da. Hello, Odilia. And it's great to see you, have you with us. Jackie, makes sense having the 3 Leo sons and 3 Scorpio girls. Death and rebirth like a thief in the night. I just heard that. Using the balancing of the sun and the moon. That's perfect. And those are your north and south nodes. So, okay, now you need to look at what is your destiny calling you to. I know you're over 40, so this is important, right? What is it calling you to? The 34 is how am I going to use my power, and how am I going to use it in a creative and empowering way? Good morning, Sharon K. Thank you. She says, still trying to understand. This is fascinating, and I love how you're breaking it down. Can't wait to learn more about gate 34 and Sagittarius season. Don't feel bad if you're a little confused, because, here at this point in my own career, but also in my relationship with all of you out there, I'm blending these things. So you're getting a more complete picture of how to use all of these energies. And it can be confusing at first, because one minute I'm saying, Sagittarius, the next moment I'm talking gate 34, gate 20. And it can be a little bit, mysterious, and it can be a little bit confusing. Just take time and ask questions, right? All of you know that you can get a hold of me. You just have to say janet@living-astrology.com, or email me at that email address, and I can answer your questions. Tina, saying yes to play slowly and joyfully. Gotcha. I think that's awesome. Teddy says, go Hawks. Terry unearthed our Seahawks shirts today. So that is why I am wearing it, because it's Blue Friday. They play on Sunday. So it's our way of cheering on our team. But for the longest time, I couldn't find these shirts. So good job, Terry, finding them for us. All right, let's see if I can pull us a card today for this weekend. And no, that's not the right one. I have to dig deep, guys, because it's way down here. What is this one? This is the star one. I can tell by the box. Ah. Oh my gosh. This is so hard because they're all down here. Okay, what did I pull? Ah, Kyle Gray's Angelic Activations Oracle. So, angels gracing us with their presence this morning. And let's see what our message becomes here. So this would be a message for us all for the weekend, right? For all of the energies that are here. We didn't even get into some of the trines and sextiles happening on Sunday, but they're also very positive ones and help us to, realize our maturity in our emotions, right? All right, so I pulled this card. It looks really pretty on the back. And it says, Gabriel, right? Heal the child within. I think that's pretty powerful too, because it's your child that's wounded, right? Your inner child. And here's what it says. Gabriel, sometimes Gabriel, strength of God, is the archangel who appears to Mother Mary and announced the coming birth of Jesus Christ. So this angel has been strongly associated with mothers, pregnancy, and childbirth. Gabriel has always been assumed to be male by the patriarchal system. Of course, that's what they did. But in spiritual art has often been depicted with feminine features and wearing flowing clothes to exaggerate femininity, and for this reason is pictured here as female. This is also the angel who supports us with healing all aspects of the child within. You have endured so much in life. You have survived more than you have given yourself credit for. Drawing this card indicates that no matter what has happened to you, you have found a way forward. You may feel that you have had to abandon your innocence in order to grow up and take responsibility, and may also have let go of your sense of wonder and curiosity about the world. Today, angels are here to support you in reclaiming the parts of yourself that have been left behind. As you do this, you activate the gifts that have been left behind too. So the activation is, I let healing and light reach all parts of myself. You can see that on the back of the card here. I let healing and light reach all parts of myself. Very good. Super good card. All right, everyone. It was a pleasure being here today with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button or the heart button if you're on Facebook. Share with your friends and let me know if you have questions or if you have need of a reading. Bye for now.